Good afternoon. My presentation has a slightly different name. I, of course, will try to answer the questions on what, where and when related to using information models for the state expertise. I represent St. Petersburg State Expertise Office, which is not a branch of the state, of the main state office. Information modeling is now a part of our life, and now expertise is trying to be part of the construction project life cycle. Those of you who have been working with BIM for some time, you know that expertise has never been involved in this process before, which is now a milestone, an achievement for all of us. The expertise is focused on a number of subjects, and in our company we work on educational facilities, healthcare facilities, housing, administrative buildings. So you see everything in the slide. About a year ago, in our firm, in our organization, we developed a BIM unit. The task of this new division was to think on how BIM technologies can be used in the process of expertise. The task is not an easy one because it involves both looking into practical solutions and searching for practical solutions. It is also important to understand the market itself. It's important to think about the market of software and the current market trends. This was the first task for this new division. We understood and looked into all software suites represented in the St. Petersburg market without looking entirely on the country. We worked only with St. Petersburg designers and builders. Software suites solutions, the choice is quite variable. In this regard, an expert facility, an expert institution like ours needs to devise a dedicated approach. On the one hand, we have a legal framework which does not allow us to use editable formats, and the array of software, the choice of software leads to the situation when we try to, if we work on each product separately, the cost of every workplace, of every employer, and the labor cost will be driven high, and at the same time we need to keep the people we have, but at the same time to transfer to these new technologies. To do that, we tried to learn from international best practices and experiences, and we saw that we cannot use any of the available solutions globally. If some of you want to know more, I will give you more details after that. We looked into different file formats for different software suites available in the market, respectively for the capital construction markets. We understood and we concluded that we only can handle the IFC format. Why we did this choice? This is because we have an opportunity to step back from designers' approaches and formulate some dedicated rules on how to use this model and how this model is going to be accepted by the expert institution like ours. The IFC format at the moment is not sufficient. Telling designers that they need to provide IFC formats is not enough. We asked them to provide IFC formats, and they did that. What we saw from that? We saw that modeling is there, that design institutions use IFC formats at different levels, but the information content is not sufficient or non-existent. The key task of designers is to draft design documentation and transferring this documentation either to customers or a research institution or an expertise institution like ours. So we also highlighted that not all the software vendors have required tools in place and file formats outputs. And that became one of the cornerstones, one of the key challenges. We talked with different developers and vendors, and we understood that this problem, this issue can be overcome if designers agree to do that. Of course, this problem can be solved. We looked into different formats. We understood that it's not possible to work without some some clear set of rules. Our requirements are based on IFC standards related to building smart solutions, and also on the Solibri model checker software. I often hear a question on why we chose Solibri, not Navisworks. Solibri model checker is can handle more requests and can be customized more in comparison with Navis, but in some cases Navis is more powerful. But in our particular practice, Solibri is a more applicable solution. Before understanding rules and requirements, we needed to understand what kind of requirements we will require from our customers, from design institutions. We decided, first and foremost, to develop a list of parameters, a list of characteristics for model elements. And these parameters will have to be grouped into sets, and this is to make the work of our specialists more convenient. We also set dedicated requirements for elements modeling. We are not based on loads. Loads is not something that we are based on at the moment in terms of modeling, and at the end of the day we set a list of rules on the content of information models. I will not give you more details in my presentation, and you will know later why I'm not going to do that. We drafted a set of rules, and in the BIM market, I've been working in the market for many years, for some years, and I understand that I need to talk with designers on how they need to set up models. We don't want to sit with them and say that we know how to model. That should be a dialogue. But at the same time, we needed to have some particular sets of rules dedicated for particular objects, for particular elements. This is an example of a staircase. A staircase. In the slide, you see some snapshots of the two options, of the two variants of stair courses taken from real models, and to the right you see the interpretation of building smart through the IFC format. So this staircase is interpreted like this, as you see to the right. If you see the top picture and the bottom picture, the second option has also some additional element which is also added to the slide. And in the next slide there is another example. I will use this slide twice in my presentation because it's related to the fact that both the left and right picture are showing the proximity of the structure of the framework to the tank. We as BIM managers have to think about collisions. That is why we need to think of some rules on modeling the structural elements, to be able to identify collisions, because otherwise we will not be able to track this collision because we cannot see it. The previous slide showed us highlighted an important issue. What should we do as we move forward? Thinking about libraries, BIMlib. There are many libraries available, developed by many companies. They all are for product developers. Just a few examples were taken from existing libraries. We also took some examples from other models, and we saw that modeling was not correct, and we saw that information was leaked incorrectly to those models. This is a very important issue and challenge, and I would like to ask you all, if you use libraries which are available in open access, please, before doing that, you will need to check their workability with the IFC format, and please check that you will be able to use them to transfer information in other parts of the project. In this example, you can see an incorrect approach, incorrect linking of parameters to the elements of insulation. One more slide shows an example of some demonstration. To the left, you see at the black background, you see the AutoCAD snapshot. Some of you are familiar with this program, with this software. This is a real snapshot of the tourniquet provided to me by a St. Petersburg firm producing these elements, styles. They tried to load the style to the IFC format from Revit. In Revit, it can be imported ideally, and it's very easy to handle it, but when we load it to the IFC format, the element itself cannot be actually loaded. So I created a solid element in Revit around the style, and I did the same in AutoCAD. And I learned that even if you have DVG files, DVG formats, which you can use for loading into Revit, if you get them back to IFC, you might not get those elements back. So this is an important issue, an important highlight for you on working with libraries. You have to be cautious working with libraries because there are some particular rules of the game in working with these tools. The biggest challenge is not about modeling at the moment. Modeling is now grasped by specialists. The more complex task is adding information and content. For a good operation of IFC format with information, there should be some other rules which we need to stick to. In various software suites, these rules can be different. We checked ArchiCAD solution as well as Revit. We also talked to Renga, and we understood that at the moment we might be able to have some dedicated set of rules for information models, and we need to talk with designers on how to use this information, how to correctly export this information from a particular software product. In March, we started posting documents on our website. There are 5 parts at the moment available online. You can download them after signing up to our account. There are some specific rules and requirements in these documents. I call on the professional community to study these documents and to give some feedback to us. And we will be able to probably make some modifications to our products, to our publications, and to our rules. The Committee on Construction of St. Petersburg has decided for 17 projects, which include schools and preschools, will need to be assessed by state expertise with the BIM models, with information models. All information models will need to be developed in compliance with our requirements and rules. How do we need to prepare information models for them not to influence your performance? Almost all software products, except for 2 or 3 solutions, so almost all of them have a mapping tool. These tools we integrate in our work as well. What is the essence of our work? It's not just about buying a Solibri model checker, and you all know about this. The number of checks, the choice of checks is very broad. Solibri is capable of driving some automatic checks, and we are able to use them, but at the same time there are a number of checks that need some customization. We probably can create some of the checks ourselves, which is a hard work. And very often we think about transferring those checks to designers for them to use them. And in reply to this question, I'd like to mention that we will not post them in public access until we do these checks ourselves. There are some checks that cannot be automated, so this is again the slide with the tank and the structure. You see the entire unit there, and in the right distant corner there is a regulating framework, regulating structure. And of course it's very hard for anybody to identify this collision, to identify this check, and I would like ask all of you to be cautious about modeling, to be attentive to what you're doing, to be also diligent in providing information content, and we would be glad to cooperate with you, to work with you, because without your feedback, without your response, it will be very hard for us to be successful. This is it from my side, and as for working with expertise when submitting models for us, I'd like to send this message to all of you. Again, submitting information models for expertise at the moment is an optional function, and it does not affect the process of a positive or a negative opinion provided by the institution. Anyway, you will receive your result, your opinion in due course, in due time, even if your model, if you 100% corresponds with our requirements. But at the same time, the models that will be submitted by the expertise will be checked by all means, and you will get our feedback, our response, which will be an informed solution, an informed decision. We guarantee that to all of you. Thank you for your attention.